Most people assume cheating only happens in broken relationships, but psychology tells a more complicated story, one you might recognize more than you'd like to admit. Have you ever wondered how someone who loves you can still betray you? How affection, loyalty, and shared history can exist right beside a decision that destroys trust? Infidelity isn't always about the absence of love. Sometimes it reveals a part of the person even they don't fully understand. The psychology of people who cheat isn't about one simple flaw. It's a pattern of unmet needs, hidden motives, emotional gaps, and moments where identity feels bigger than commitment. Before judging the behavior, it's worth understanding the mind behind it. Cheating rarely begins with the act itself. It often starts quietly, with an unmet psychological need the person may not even be aware of. This can be the need to feel desired, valued, admired, or simply seen in ways they no longer experience. You might think, why not talk to their partner about it? But for many people, the need doesn't reach consciousness. It hides beneath daily routines, unspoken resentments, or the slow erosion of emotional intimacy. Affairs can feel like shortcuts to needs that were never clearly named, not because the partner failed, but because the individual never learned to recognize what was missing. Understanding cheating begins with understanding the void it tries to fill. One of the most surprising psychological findings is that people sometimes cheat not to leave their partner, but to leave a version of themselves. An affair can act like a temporary identity shift, a chance to feel younger, freer, bolder, or simply different from the role they've been stuck in. This is called identity expansion, and it's more common than most people realize. The cheating isn't always about the other person, it's about who the cheater becomes in their presence. If you've ever felt like you were outgrowing your own life, you understand how tempting reinvention can feel. For some, cheating becomes a misguided attempt to explore a self they don't know how to express openly. Infidelity becomes clearer when you see the identity crisis hiding underneath it. Psychologists often emphasize that cheating doesn't begin with passion. It begins with emotional disconnection. Not dramatic fights or clear neglect, but the quieter drift where two people slowly stop reaching each other on an emotional level. This disconnect can develop even in relationships that appear strong on the surface. Affection becomes routine, conversations lose depth, and the emotional spark that once made the relationship feel alive fades into background noise. Some people respond to this numbness by shutting down. Others look outward, searching for a feeling they can no longer access at home. You might have experienced this yourself, moments where the relationship looked intact, yet something essential inside you wasn't being touched anymore. When that feeling lingers long enough, crossing a line can start to feel less like a shock and more like something that was quietly building all along. Even people with strong values can end up cheating when their impulses and desires collide. Freud believed much of human behavior comes from the tension between what we want and what we feel we should want. Modern psychology still echoes this idea. When desire builds under stress, loneliness, or curiosity, it can override judgment in a moment of vulnerability. This isn't an excuse. It's a psychological pattern. The impulsive self acts fast, while the reflective self arrives too late to stop it. You've probably felt this conflict in smaller moments, times when your impulses pushed ahead of your intentions. Cheating often happens in that brief gap between desire and restraint, the moment where people become strangers to themselves. Not all cheating comes from deep emotional issues. Sometimes it comes from a moment, a situation where temptation appears at the exact time someone feels unsteady, unseen, or disconnected from themselves. Many psychologists describe this as situational temptation, and it's more influential than most people realize. It's the coworker who listens a little too closely, the stranger who offers validation at the perfect moment, or the spark that feels effortless compared to the work long-term relationships require. The affair isn't planned, the door simply opens, and they walk through it. You've likely felt this in milder ways, moments where a thought or connection surprised you. Cheating often begins not with intention, but with opportunity meeting vulnerability. Cheating is rarely just one thing. It's a mixture of unmet needs, identity shifts, emotional gaps, impulses, and moments where circumstances collide with vulnerability. Some people cheat to feel seen. Some cheat to feel alive. And some cheat because they don't know how to express the pain or confusion happening inside them. But here's the difficult truth. Cheating doesn't only reveal something about the relationship, it reveals something about the person who chose it. So be honest with yourself. When you think about cheating, do you see only a betrayal? Or do you see someone caught in a struggle they didn't know how to navigate? Understanding that distinction can change how you see others, and maybe how you see yourself.